Yes, guys. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our today's class. Uh, I'm sure that you did all your assignments and those class activities that we sent last week. I'm sure that you submitted them to non-proposal, all right? And we are going to have a look at them and try to mark them. You're going to get your result this week, all right? Let's move forward. We discussed about some of the models last week, and today we are going to move forward, all right? So I'm going to go very slowly in order for everybody to catch up. And after this class, you are going to start revising some of the questions for your first examinations. And your first examinations will happen tomorrow after 12, all right? So I will speak to Montokozo, all right? Yeah, so I'm recording, right? So yeah, let me try to share my screen in order for us to start. Yeah, hope you are going to see my screen. Yeah, so we are going to continue talking about the OSI model, all right? The OSI model. As I told you, for you to understand how computers will talk, you need a model. That model will try to explain to you how devices can talk from one like component to another component, right? Like the way you are sitting, when you are sending an email to your friend, how that communication will happen, from where it's going to start and from where it's going to end, right? So when you understand this model, it's going to be very easy for you to troubleshoot, right? So it's very easy. You need just to follow up with me, right? We spoke about this OSI model. This model will have 7 layers, right? So the OSI model will have 7 layers as we spoke last time. So for the communication to happen between devices, those devices need to follow those 7 layers, all right? According to the OSI model. So later on, we are going to see another model, but let's first finish up with the OSI model, right? So for the OSI model, layer number 7, we called it application layer. So this is the layer number 7, right? So as I said, when we're talking about the application layer, you must see the interaction between user and network application, right? So application layer means that interaction between user and network applications, right? From this particular layer, the user will interact, will talk to the network application, right? So when you sit like in front of your PC, you wanna send like an email to your friend. What you're gonna do, number one, you are going to access Chrome, like a browser. That browser, this is what we call network application, right? So the first step, you have to access Chrome. You have to access a network application such as Chrome or a browser. So this is the job of the application layer, is to make sure that the network application can talk properly with you, right? So when you have a problem, like browser problems, network applications problems, you will know that I'm in application layer, layer 7, right? So I gave you an exercise where you have to mention some applications or some protocols and devices, right? So shortly, application layer, this is where users will interact with network applications, right? You open up, you switch on your PC, you want to send an email. What you must do, you are going to go to a browser. You are going to interact with a browser, right? So you are going to interact with that browser properly because of the application layer. And we moved, when you access your browser, you have to move to what we call the presentation layer. The presentation layer, this is where you are going now to start the typing, whatever that you want, or your message. You have to type your message. So the presentation layer will make sure that you type your data properly by following specific structure. The presentation layer will compress your work and will encrypt your data, right? So the job of this layer is to make sure that your data will follow proper structure. We'll try to compress your data. We'll try to encrypt it, because your data will move from one device to another devices. This is the job of the presentation layer, right? And I told you, like, the session layer. So when your data will move from the application layer, you access your browser, you start like typing. Now you're gonna move to what we call the session layer. The session layer will make sure that the connection will be open, right? Because when you wanna talk to a friend, you wanna talk to another device, there must be a road. There must be like a channel that's gonna be like open, right? And the session layer will make sure that there is a channel, virtual channel, between your computer to your destination PC, right? So we call it session management. Session management means the session layer will make sure that it's going to open the connection and close the connection and manage it, right? And the session layer will also manage what? The authorization and authentication, checking if your computer is allowed to send, right? This is the authorization and authentication, right? And so after that road being like open, that channel, virtual channel that you cannot see, being opened by the session layer, data will go to the transport layer. From the transport layer, there is what we call segmentation. The job of the transport layer is to make sure that data will be divided in what we call segments, splitting data into segments, right? And the most important, you have to understand is, you can see this column of data type. When data is from the application layer, we call it data. When data move from the application layer to presentation layer, we still call it data. When data moved from the presentation layer to the session layer, we still calling it data. But when data moved from the session layer to the transport layer, we call it segment. It's a segment, your data is segment. So your data will be split into what we call segment. Why your data gonna be split? Your data will be split in order for the transport layer to control what? The errors, the speed, right? And the maximum amount of data that you are allowed to send. So those are the responsibility of the transport layer. So checking for errors, checking for the speed, and fixing the size of data, right? Now, the transport layer will segment your message. Now, your message needs to move to the network layer. There are three network layers. The network layer will do what? The network layer will make sure that your segment will reach a proper network, right? So the job of the network layer is to identify the location, right? So I got data here. Where am I gonna send this data? Which family? Mbali's family or Tando's family? So the network layer will put an IP address, right? So in order not to identify the network and to send, right? So data, your segment from the network layer, we call it packet, right? So data that we moved from the application layer to the presentation layer to the session layer, from the transport layer, we call it segment, and from the network layer, we call it packet. Because those segments, again, will be divided into packet. And for every packet, we are going to assign an IP address. Why we are assigning that IP address? Because we want your packet to go to the correct destinations, right? So the network layer will make sure that data will go to the correct destination, right? So the network layer will identify which family, which network belongs to those packets, right? Now, when I know the family, right, I have also to know the person that I have to deliver my packet. So the data link layer, layer number 2, data link layer, this one, this data link layer will make sure that data will go to the correct device by adding what? By precising the physical address or the MAC address of the device. Because data will come from the transport layer, from the network layer. The network layer will precise the family, but which person, which device will receive this message? This is the job of the data link layer. So the data link layer will precise the actual device, right? Now, after precising the actual device, the data link layer will move data to where? Because I know that data belongs now to Tando. Now, how am I gonna send it now? Which way? Fiber optic or which type of cable? Am I gonna use wireless or wired? This is the responsibility of the physical layer. So data will be converted into bits and be transmitted. Right? Shortly, what you need to understand is this. For computers to talk or devices to talk, those devices will go through 7 layers. Those 7 layers, we call them the OSI model, right? So the user will access a network application such as Chrome. This is the responsibility of the application layer. The application layer will make sure that the user will interact properly with the network application such as Chrome. After that, data will move. When you are done with your Chrome, you have not to start maybe doing your research or, right? This is the responsibility of the presentation layer. The presentation layer will make sure that you are going to follow proper structure, right? And when you are done from the presentation layer, data will move from the session layer. The session layer will make sure that there is a road like open between those two devices. They have to agree on how they are going to send data. So there's a virtual road, a virtual channel, or virtual session that's going to be open. This is the responsibility of the session layer. After that, it's the transport layer that will make sure that data will be segmented, check for the speed, check for the errors, and check for the size of your data, and check for the port number, and so on. After that, your data, your segment will move to the transport to the network layer, and the network layer will identify the correct family or the correct network. After that, it's going to move to the data link layer. After identifying the correct network, we have to identify the actual person or the actual device. This is the responsibility of the data link layer by adding a physical address. And after that, we have to decide how we are going now to transmit data. So this is the responsibility of the physical layer. And you have to understand that when data is from the transport layer, we call it segment. From the network layer, it's packet. From the data link layer, we call it frame. And from the physical layer, we call it bits, right? Now, beside the OSI model, there is another model that we call a TCP IP model, right? Let me try. It's what we call TCP IP model, right? From the Department of Defense, so USA, right? So there is the OSI model, that is a theoretical model, and what we call TCP IP model. This model will have 4 layers, not 7 as the OSI model, right? This one will have what we call 4 layers only. All right. So the first one still the application layer. The second one still the transport layer. The third one, we call it internet. And the last one is network. Yes. All right. So this is what you have to understand, right? This model will have 4 layers. So compared to the OSI model. The OSI model is a theoretical model. A TCP/IP model is a practical model, right? So 4 models like compared to 3 to 7 models. So they try just to minimize layers, right? From the OSI model, it was 7, and from the TCP/IP model, it's 4, right? But later on, we are going to see the differences between the OSI model and the TCP/IP model. As I said, the OSI model got 7 layers and TCP/IP model got 4 layers, right? Those 3 layers, layer 7, layer 6, and layer 5, like in TCP IP model, all those 3 layers become 1. So the application layer will have 7, 6, and 5 from the OSI model. So all the tasks that those 3 layers will do, like in TCP IP model, those 3 jobs will go to 1 layer. And the transport layer will still the same, will never change, right? And the internet one will still also the same, but here 1 and 2 will be mixed, right? So the TCP/IP model will take those 3 layers from OSI model, make it 1, right? But then they didn't change. Layer 4, the transport layer still the same, and layer 3, like network layer, but they call it internet, and network access will take those two last, data link and physical layers, right? Okay, this is the difference that I wanted you to understand from now, because I'll be sending another recording where I'm going to go deeper. But shortly, the OSI model got 7 layers and the TCP got 4 layers. They took those 3 layers from the OSI model, they make it 1. So the application, the presentation, the session will become 1, like in TCP/IP model, will become only 1 application. So they're gonna call it just application layer. The transport layer will never change. The network layer will be called like internet, and the last 2, the physical layer and the data link layer, will be 1, will be called network access, but we are going to discuss it more, right? Now, let's talk about protocols, right? Protocols, right? What are protocols? Those are the set of rules, right? Those are the set of rules that your computers need to follow for better communications, right? It's just a set of rules that your devices need to follow in order to accomplish a specific task, right? Like maybe when you want to send your email to your friend, there's a specific protocol, there's a specific program that will make sure that your email will reach the destination like properly. So for everything that computers will do or devices will do, we do have specific protocols, specific rules for that, right? So shortly, when we're talking about protocols, we're talking about a set of rules, right? So they're computer programs that will do specific tasks, right? Computer programs that will execute specific tasks, right? This is what you have to understand. And for every layer, we do have specific protocols, right? So if I want to go to the OSI model, right? From here, there is one of the protocol that we call DHCP, right? Let me try to make it a bit bigger. I'm sure that you can see this protocol, DHCP. It's one of the protocol, right? This protocol, it's from the application layer. But what is the meaning of this protocol? DHCP, right? It's one of the protocol. So this protocol, it's dynamic host configuration protocol, right? Dynamic host configuration protocol, right? This protocol works well from the application layer, right? This protocol will allow you to assign what? IP addresses automatically to devices, right? So assign IP automatically, right? So the job of this protocol is only to assign your IP automatically to devices, right? So when you have like IP problem, maybe one of the device cannot connect to the internet, or maybe one of the wireless access device, like your phone, cannot connect to the internet. You can think about DHCP, that protocol, that program that does that. So you must go to your modem, you must go to your router, you must go to your wireless access point and check if DHCP is activated or not, or disabled or not. So if you disable this protocol, nobody will get an IP address. Nobody will be connected to the internet, right? So just to show you, so you as a specialist, when you have a problem with IP like addresses, like users cannot get like IP addresses, you have to think about the DHCP protocol. You must go to your device. You must check from the configurations if DHCP is configured properly, maybe from the user side or from the device that gives those IPs, right? Now, you will know that I'm in application layer, and this protocol, this computer program works at that particular level, right? So it's just one of the protocol, right? So next time when you have some of the devices that cannot get like IP addresses, you can think about DHCP. Just a computer program that does what? That will assign your devices this IP automatically. And when it's off, nobody can get an IP address. And when you don't have an IP address, you cannot be connected. Right? Fine, fine. Number two is what we call is FTP, right? This FTP means file, file transfer protocol, right? File transfer protocol, right? So this is a program or a computer program for transferring file. Large files, right? Right? This is just the job of what? Of this protocol, right? So this protocol works also well at the application layer, right? It works also here. As your DHCP, we do have this FTP, right? So as I said, this FTP will make sure that you are transferring a large amount of files or data, right? You see, there are companies that deals with what? Transferring files, 100 gigs, 200 gigs, 1 terabyte. You cannot use your email addresses to send this large amount of data. You can try to use one of the software or one of the program that will allow you to do that. And there is one of the protocol that we call FTP. This FTP will allow companies to send large amount of data, right? We call it FTP. So this FTP will be responsible of that. So when you want to configure, when your company is dealing with large amount of data, you can try to configure what we call FTP saver. It's just one of the protocols that we are talking about, right? Beside this FTP, we do have what we call HTTP, right? HTTP. Hypertext. 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 Transfer protocol, right? So hypertext transfer protocol, right? So what does it mean? This one is for transferring web pages, right? So this protocol, the job of this protocol is for what? Just for transferring web pages, right? When you go to the internet, right? When you go to Chrome, when you go to your email, those are the web pages that you are using. When you go to your Facebook page or profile and so on, those are the web pages. And it's because of this protocol we can transfer files properly. If this protocol is off, nobody can transfer or receive files or web pages, right? So this protocol will deal with what? Web pages. So when you are dealing with website, web pages, maybe somebody cannot connect to one of the websites and so on, you have to think about this protocol, the HTTP. And this protocol works well, always. It works also here from the application layer, HTTP, right? But there is the one that is protected. When you see S means the one that is protected, the secured one, right? There is this HTTPS, right? The secured versions, right? But we are going to see all those protocols later on, right? So if here there is a specific protocol that you have to look at, the list is very long, right? So I will try my best to go slowly to explain to you the need of all those protocols. But I've just explained about 4 of them. Dealing with IP assignment with the DHCP protocol. When you are dealing with a large amount of data, you can use FTP. And when you are dealing with web pages, transferring and receiving, you can go for HTTP and HTTPS, the one that is secured. All right, so for my next recording, I will go further with other protocols, right? For now, I will stop here. Make sure that you are going to go through my recording, and if you don't understand, don't hesitate to send your questions or to tell Notopoza, and Notopoza will let me know, and for my next recording, I will respond, right? Thank you very much for this first recording, and I will prepare for the next recording. Thank you very much.